Hey, it's been a long time since I've been on the Secrets to Winning podcast, but I wanted to do one today because I've had a lot of questions that have come in about what do we need to do to take people into better plans and get them more successful, right? And I've been very fortunate over the years to work with a lot of championship coaches and players and teams and organizations. And so I wanted to take today's podcast on the Secrets to Winning to kind of dive into that success. I guess it's frustrating to me is that we oftentimes in life see our struggles that we go through in those moments where we stretch and we push and we go and we do our things, and we go play in a tougher game or a tougher scenario and we struggle. We see that as like a mark, and we see that as like a scar that is almost like a tattoo that is a defining moment of our failures, and it's a defining moment that we failed in that moment. And I understand the psychology as to why that is that when it takes the ultimate amount of vulnerability and pressure and you put yourself out there, you want to succeed. And when that much is exposed and you fail, you get, I'd say, the most hurt, most emotionally scarred or bruised from those moments. But there's a choice that happens in all of success when we take that negative, and now what we do is we make that negative a defining trauma, as if those negative emotions that we feel in the heat of the moment, immediately post-performance, are going to stay with us forever. And we're going to hold on to that because we want to punish ourselves for failing. That's the trap. Success is about surging, struggling, regressing, learning, surging again. And for us to grow and develop as players and as teams and as organizations, we have to push into areas where we'll struggle, because we'll truly never know our capacity to be a competitor until we're in the moments when we're exposed and have shortcomings. Now, it could be an opponent, it could be a situation, it could be a level of play, it could be the bigger moments, it could be all those things that are contributing to our shortcomings. But if we don't have those, then we never shine a light on the areas to improve. So the difference is seeing things as trauma versus perceiving things as developmental. Now, we know people write and talk and share stories about what it takes and failure's critical and all this other stuff, right? And I know that sounds good and it sells books and it's great for memes. But what you do with that failure, what you do with that traumatic experience, what you do with that disappointment is what builds success over time. I work with players on the PGA Tour who have had multiple trips to the Korn Ferry Tour, multiple trips to Q School. And then we see an event like Colin Morikawa trying to win the Tournament of Champions in Maui. And people want to look at that and say, how could he make 3 bogeys in a row coming down the stretch? He didn't make a bogey in the previous 60-something holes. How did he make bogeys now? But that's what's important, is that you have to understand that every single competitor out there, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, John Rahm, Billy Horschel, my guys, right? Alabama football, Georgia football, everybody. There are moments where they struggle. Georgia football dominated in the national title game. No doubt about it. No question. Most dominant team this year in college football. But they had moments during the season where they struggled. And their talent was elite. But their ability to access talent under high-pressure moments and deal with those struggles and grow made them better. Had they not struggled, they got away with the semifinal game against Ohio State. Okay, they got away with it. Ohio State was a better team coming off their loss. And it makes you wonder, why do great teams play better after a loss? It's because they get back to basics. They get back to the fundamentals that help them be successful. They lower those expectations. They don't think the noise quiets down, particularly for elite athletes. They get in that tunnel. Well, Georgia got their stuff done in the national title game, okay? But when you look at players on the PGA Tour, as they're coming down the stretch, tournaments don't get really amped up pressure-wise until the final 9 holes. And they always say a Sunday, back 9 at a major, right? But it's true at every single event because every event's difficult to win. There's no events out there that are easy to win. But what happens is people put themselves in that situation and it becomes, their mind moves to protective. It moves to, I can't make a mistake here. I can't struggle in this scenario. I can't let people down. And more importantly, I can't let myself down. I can't let me down because deep down, I have to know that I'm good enough to succeed here. Now, I'm not answering for Colin Markow. I don't work with him. I love his coach, Rick Sessenhaus. I love what they do. So I'm not knocking him. This is anybody. But what happens is players see that as a negative, and that pain turns to punishment versus the pain of saying, what did I learn here? What do I need to do to get better? How do I need to improve my overall playability? What do I need to do when I get under pressure? What do I need to do when I get in those scenarios where things amplify? You can be the greatest musician in your shower all day long, but as soon as I put you in front of other people, you clam up, you play more protective, you don't sing with the same power, you don't want to mess up in eyes of other people. So as we get into that protective mechanism, we start becoming more aware of what other people think. We don't want to make mistakes because we're afraid that it's going to let us down and let the people down judging us. And as a result, what happens is we restrict what we're doing and actually execute and manifest the things that we're fearing. As a coach, as a player, somebody who's around them, if you can help players understand that, yes, you can get on them, yes, you can fuss at them, yes, you can try to coach them hard, but teach them how to take that information and improve. Don't just make it a negative as if, oh, but wait a minute here. Is that negative sometimes as a coach because it's a reflection on you? Maybe. And then how does that get portrayed to a player, to one of your kids, even one of your biological kids, right? Or, kids that you're raising. So we have to be careful in how do we transfer our own insecurities. See, that's the thing. Success is a pattern. It's a journey that is defined by the number of insecurities that we face. And we just don't face them like, hey, this is what the plan says, and I'm going to face these systematically like they're stops on a road. These insecurities jump out at us at every given moment, and they force us to make the choice between purpose and prevention or protection. The developmental side of success is about putting yourself in those surge moments where you get out maybe a little ahead of yourself and you expose some of the insecurities or the inefficiencies that you have in your own game, and then you learn more about yourself through those failings. And so what we do is we come back and we reinforce what we're doing. I've been around teams where players get upset when they receive that kind of feedback, or they get in those big moments and they go in a shell and they never recover. Had a conversation with a major league pitching coach recently about a player that they brought up to the major leagues that got shelled in his first couple outings. And he's like, it's like we lost him. The trauma just never relented for this individual. And the question from the major league pitching coach is, what could we have done differently? And the only thing that I would say is that you have to prepare players ahead of time. You are going to go into dark moments. You're going to go into points of doubt. You're going to go into the caves of insecurity. But you are good enough. The number one insecurity that I see among athletes today is, am I good enough for what I believe I want to accomplish? Can I actually accomplish everything I think I can? Now, that question alone is wrought with errors, because everything I think I can is an uncertainty. It's an unknown. It's a future-based product. But when we're on our journey, we have to have a goal and a destination in mind, right? But the thing that we have to remember about our journey and our destination is that we must remind ourselves that it is going to be difficult. It is going to be hard. It's going to have moments where we feel like we have no support around us. It's going to feel like we have moments where we can't find the pathway to success. There are going to be moments when we think everybody's against us, and there's going to be moments that we feel like the game is burying us. See, those days happen. Those moments become magnified. But all of those moments become worse when we're surprised by their occurrence versus knowing that we're going to do that. And instead of romanticizing all the great things that happen through success and all the things that we're going to accomplish and all the things that we're going to gain, we need to flip the script to say all those things are journey-based. And all those moments of doubts and insecurity, they're going to be there. And also you're going to have the moments of adulation and trials and success and joy and feeling like you're the greatest athlete to ever play. It's about balancing those two. We don't have to go the trauma route. But trauma manifests and builds when we're embarrassed about what it exposes. We're embarrassed about what it shows us. And so when we think about it and our mind is drawn back to that traumatic environment, now all of a sudden we're seeing it as, oh my God, I can't do this again because I'm embarrassed about what it says about me. As coaches, we must develop people to be ready for the darkest moments, not the lightest. As players, you have to be prepared for the rainiest days, not the prettiest. See, I don't want you romanticizing success and being built on all these ideals of you can do it and you got it and I'm a rah-rah you. I want you to be prepared for I can handle anything that comes my way. The greatest athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest people I've ever met have belief that they can handle difficult moments. But they oftentimes doubt if they're the right person. It's funny how that works. They know that they are prepared to face something, but they doubt that they could be the most successful there. Why? Because that doubt fuels direction, determination, focus. So when we have those doubts and we go along that journey, it's critical that we know what we're doing. It's that we're building a better model of ourselves through each and every circumstance that we're in. The mental game is hard because we can't quantify it. You can look at a success and have great outcome. You can go shoot for 38 points in a basketball game and you're going to focus on competitiveness or you're going to focus on how good your shot was. But your mental game may have helped you there, obviously. But that work of the mental game may have actually helped you 3 or 4 days ago when you were doubting yourself in the gym and you didn't feel like going in there and you were struggling and coach was on your ass. That's how that's why it's hard to quantify. And that's why I get so frustrated in my field when I see people in my field sending out all these pictures of themselves helping players. And a lot of times they're not even in the picture with the players. And they're like, I'm there, and they're highlighting their greatness versus the athlete's ability. Like, all I hope for is that I build in my athletes the greatest mental library, mental bookshelf possible for an athlete. At the end of competition, at the end of that journey, I want them to look back and say, there are traumas on there, there are dramas on there are comedies, there are thrillers, there are championship achievements, there are biographies, there's trophies, and that when they face a new challenge, they have that book of wisdom behind them. That they did it, that they developed it, that they used the tools, and I'm just nothing more than a piece of tool. I'm a hammer, I'm a nail, I'm something in their bookshelf. See, as a coach, we need to prepare them. So I had this call that came in a couple weeks ago, and coach asks, well, how do I really coach the mental game? You weave it into everything you do in practice. Number one, you get to know your players. You develop trust, and you know them as human beings first. Number two, you plan your practices, and you work periods of time on the technical aspects of the game. You work on the execution and the performance side, but then you also find times to challenge them. And you let them know, sometimes proactively, sometimes after the fact, that drill or that exercise had a specific focus from a mental component to it. You review and help them understand how to decipher and learn how to improve based on their performances. You help them focus on where they're going, that they have the right to improve as players, that they have the right to develop, they have the right, and you're going to be there every step of the way with them. You know, we magnify and microwave successes, but what happens is if you look at our news cycle, our attention cycle, it's so short because we move on to the next thing. So as part of the mental game is getting people to realize that it's a longer term plan. Why is it that players are transferring so fast? Because they don't feel or believe in the developmental plan of the place they're at. That's why they're leaving. Yeah, maybe some are getting some money elsewhere through NIL, or maybe a couple of them are going to move up and go up to a bigger program. For the most part, the players that, fans crap all over and say they don't want to stick it out. Well, maybe they don't believe the developmental plan that the coaches have is right for them. And it might not be right. It may be wrong. There may be a whole lot of factors there, right? So I want you to think about development in everything we do with a mental framework. Success and programs of what we're doing is all about the plan of how do we develop our mind to be ready for every scenario we're going to be in. And when you do those things, you create power and development. People ask, why is it that players win so much on the PGA? Like, I've been very fortunate that my players have won a lot on the PGA Tour, and I'm very honored to be a member of their teams. But the thing that I'm the proudest of is that I've gotten them to realize that they don't need to be great to be great. That their greatness lies in the way that they see the challenge in front of them, and that they can take every challenge in front of them and make something out of it. And lo and behold, they find themselves with the lead on the 72nd hole. That's why they win. That's why they win. Why did we win at LSU baseball? We weren't more talented, but we believed we were more prepared for the harder moments. Okay? So as players develop, they realize that talent and skill gets them so far. But that next step of their mental acuity, that mental connection in that moment to take what they have and maximize the impact because of what they have, that's when we take a player to the whole new level. And as coaches, that's what we should be doing. We should be pushing them outside their comfort zones, pushing them to areas where they're not that good, but preparing them for those moments. 2023 is going to be a great year. One of the things I'm really excited about here through the Mindside and what we're doing is we're launching Mental Game Live. Mental Game Live is going to be a free program. I thought about charging for it, and I thought, you know what? No, we're gonna do it free. It's going to be 3 to 4 times a month of a live show here in the studio. And I built out this amazing studio. I don't even know how the hell to use it all, but we're going to try. And we're going to stumble and we're going to fumble, but we're going to kick some butt. We're going to dive into the mental game for players, coaches. It's going to be archived. It's going to be live. It's going to be live Q&A. It's going to be great guests. We're going to do all that stuff. Okay? Why? Because we have to be better on the mental game. We must. Very simply. We must get better at dealing with the journey of success. And if we don't, then we're going to continue to experience the traumas that are out there. But people are going to leave us in the dust. People are going to get better than us. Teams are going to continue to win, and people are going to go, well, they got lucky. No, they didn't. They were ready when luck showed up. So Mental Game Live is coming. Make sure you keep following me on the social media channel. Share this video, this podcast, this audio, if you like it. Let's get the word out. 2023 is coming. Let's get our knee pads on. Let's get our elbow pads on. Let's get our gloves. Let's get our mouthpiece in. Let's get ready for the challenge of what the mental game is. Let's stop selling the ease. Let's start building the difficult. And that's what we're prepared for.